the separation of powers is an essential part of the U.S. government structure. You have to keep in mind that the people who put together this Constitution were, by and large, revolutionaries. These were people who had fought and won a revolutionary war against a central government, namely then the government of Britain, and they were very reluctant to establish their own central government with any essential powers. In fact, the Constitution came after the founding of the United States. For 11 years, it operated under the so-called Articles, which gave the central government virtually no power, and there was no president. It didn't work. So they created this Constitution designed to make it very difficult for the central federal government to do anything. And they were extremely concerned about this creation of a presidency. In fact, the only reason many writers have said it happened at all was because everyone assumed the first president would be George Washington, who was universally viewed as an extraordinarily honorable man who had no desire to become a king. So they set it up whereby to do a lot of things, you need the concurrence of semi-independent branches, the House of Representatives, the Senate, the president, and then a review by the courts. Keep in mind, in the US, for example, I think the best example of separation of powers is the president can't even pick his own cabinet without the consent of the United States Senate. And sometimes the Senate refuses to confirm members of the cabinet. It's happened to any number of presidents. So you have a structure that was intended to be somewhat cumbersome to prevent, let's say, stomping on individual rights. Over the past 250 years, of course, times have changed.
Yeah. Okay, so what are the early signs with the intentions of this Trump administration highlighted by this Garcia case in terms of the separation of powers and the checks and balances to do with the executive and the judiciary?
Well, here we had clearly something that was done wrong. There was a 2019 judicial decision saying that Mr. Garcia could not be deported. He was anyway. Whether that was intentional or accidental, we don't really know. In any event, a federal court who had authority to review the situation ordered the executive branch, the president, to take steps to get this man back. Nothing happened. It went to the U.S. Supreme Court. The White House took it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, for a very brief period, stopped everything to look at it, and then unanimously said, no, this goes back to the judge, and she should continue with this case. And she has now ordered the Trump administration to produce individuals to explain the steps they have taken to return Mr. Garcia to the United States from El Salvador.
Yeah, so a real showdown is developing. Can Donald Trump continue just to thumb his nose at the courts?
The answer is no, but not. The answer is no, but a recognition that it will probably have to come from the U.S. Supreme Court ultimately. Presidents are not going to disobey or disavow decisions of the Supreme Court.
You don't think Donald Trump would?
No, I don't think he would, because I do not believe that even with a Republican Congress, that they will support that. I don't believe that. The legislature is at a certain level independent, and look, presidents, the last time this happened in a big way was with Richard Nixon, when the United States Supreme Court ordered him to turn over the tapes that would incriminate him. And Nixon, we know, had ideas of, well, if it's a divided decision, maybe I don't have to. But it was a unanimous decision written by the Chief Justice, turn over the tapes, and Nixon resigned. So that was a pretty heavyweight situation.
But what about some things that Donald Trump has said on his social media accounts about the judiciary, like warning of what he describes as the potential destruction of the country from lunatic judges wanting to assume the powers of the presidency, and this is posing an unparalleled danger to the country. What does that indicate to you about his mindset and his approach over the next 4 years to the courts?
Well, those are certainly reckless statements to make, because it has been viewed that one of the roles of the executive, the president, is to support the court. Under the Constitution, the president is chartered with the job of enforcing the orders of the court, not disputing them. And the Chief Justice Roberts has already said it's not an option to attack judges, because Trump has tried that, calling them lunatics. And Chief Justice Roberts said, no, if you don't like what a judge has done, appeal it to a higher court. So the judiciary's made their position pretty clear, regardless of party. But it bodes, as you pointed out, that over the next 4 years, there could be some rough going with more than usual U.S. Supreme Court intervention.